Good morning. Today begins a new week. And a week is just a concept that we use to somehow to keep track of time, to be able to organize our own lives, organize time, and to keep track also of the rhythms, the cycles that there are in life. Because without a way to relate to time, if we didn't have our own way of, how can I say, perceiving and marking, seeing the cycles in life, it would be much harder for us to give direction to our thoughts, to our actions, etc. For this, it's really important to see these moments, to see these cycles that we live. And so we have long cycles. Some last 12 years, 30 years, various types of cycles in life. Till we have the year, we have the month, we have the week, we have the day, hour, etc. What's interesting is our body, and as a consequence, our mind, we're connected, we're in harmony with the environment around us. And when you see the way we count time, it's based on mostly on external markers, external cycles. Once I was studying the Tantra of Guhya Samatra in Tibet, when I was receiving teachings on the completion stage. And there was a moment where it was explained the minimum duration of a meditation session during the completion stage. And I found my own answer, which doesn't mean it's right, but it had to do also with the time of an hour. And so a meditation session for the completion stage should last 2 hours, because it's the necessary time for a complete cycle. It's like going and coming of our various elements, like a cycle of internal energy. We can say an inner cycle lasts about an hour. And a cycle means every breath is connected to a certain type of element. It's a little bit complicated, and it's not what I wanted to talk about today. But just to say that we have, when we say an hour, these are natural cycles that come out, even inside. I mean, there are times of the day related to our organs, to the different inner states. It's not for nothing that since the antiquity that it has been said to do spiritual practices on new moon, on full moon, and then there are special days, specifically for practice, like the 10th day of the Tibetan lunar calendar, and also on the 10th and the 25th we do the tsog. On the 8th we do the Tara Puja. On the 15th is a full moon day where one should do Guru Yoga practice, and then we have also the 29th should be done. The practices of the Dharmapala, the protector, should be done. These are days. One might think, these are the days of these divinities, as kind of like the day of a certain saint. But instead, these are astrological aspects that have a certain energy, and these types of practice have a particular energy. So when we get to the 29th, for example, there's a certain type of energy. It's it's the end of the it's the end of the waning moon, and the new moon is about to come. And so this to say there are external circumstances, and we're influenced by that. And the fact that there are these cycles should help us to see, to review what we're doing and where we're going. Because when I'm in front of the same thing, this allows me to look back and say, okay, from last Monday to today, what have I done? How, what happened? How did I act? How did I behave? It allows me to look back a little bit and redirect, in the direction where I want to go, towards what I want. And then there's a deeper level that I was talking about before, which is about understanding these cycles of nature and understanding the best way for us to interact with these cycles. How can we use this energy of nature to also to develop ourselves in the best way possible? On a spiritual level, emotional level, and also on a physical level. So I'm sure that there are many problems that come out in nowadays on an emotional level, that cause depression, all these things that are so widespread. I'm sure they're connected not to just a mental aspect, but to physical aspects. In the Chinese medicine, for example, for the very little that I know, there's the mind is directly connected to various organs, and there are specific times for to rest certain organs. For example, there are organs like the liver, and if I remember correctly, from 10 p.m. to midnight, one should rest the liver. What does that mean? That means that if we are not sleeping between 10 and 12, then the energy of the liver is not able to regenerate itself. The liver is connected also to when the liver is not well, then there could be anger and nervousness, in someone. So what happens? Someone who never sleeps before midnight, practically, the liver never is allowed to regenerate itself, and this brings other consequences, even emotionally. So all of this comes from the fact that we have less and less harmony with natural cycles, even between day and night, and even Atisha repeated, talking about Buddhist teachings, Atisha said, eat the right amount of food. Never eat more than you need. Because what happens is when you eat more than you need, one, we start eating for attachment and not for the necessity of nutrition. And this brings many, many side effects. For example, eating what is bad for us. Because if I eat not because if I start eating because I want and not because I need, that brings me that brings me to eat what I want and not what I need. And if we eat the right amount of food, that gives us energy. If we eat the wrong amount of energy of food, more than we need, which is, because normally our problem is not eating not enough, but eating too much. But instead, in giving us energy, it takes energy away from us, because all the energy that is, because we've eaten too much, we're using even more energy for the digestive processes. So they say if you can also you can gauge if you've eaten the right amount by your level of energy. Because without talking about taking coffee, but if at the end of your meal, if you're more tired, it means you've eaten the wrong amount or the wrong thing. If you've eaten, if your food has given you energy, then it's right. Atisha also said not to sleep in the first or the last part of the night. One should not sleep from like before sunset. One shouldn't go to bed before sunset, and one shouldn't get up after dawn. So one should always wake up before dawn and go to sleep soon after dusk, after sunset. For spiritual practice, for meditation, to direct the mind, the early morning is the absolute best time. It's the day is beginning then, so we're putting energy into what is beginning by meditating in the early morning. So now we're beginning a new week. In our culture, in our culture, the week begins on Monday. It's the working week, actually, traditionally. So for astronomy, astrology, from a more an antique way of way. The first day of the week would be the day of the sun, a Sunday, and the second day would be the day of the moon, which is Monday. Just to get to the day of Saturn, which is Saturday. So in the past, in more antique traditions, the day of the week would begin on Sunday. But for us, our week begins on Monday. What's important is to give ourselves an objective, to set a goal. So now I'm beginning this week. What do I want in these weeks? Because we have two possibilities. One is or we let ourselves be taken by the various things that appear, or there are those who organize the week before, and others who just live the day depending on what comes up. Others say, okay, Monday I have this, and Tuesday I need to do this, that, and the other. Independently, whether we do one way or another, we have this possibility to live the week as, how can I say, to survive, to make it through, to face the things that need to be done, do the things we want to do, and somehow by doing like that, we get through it, and we face it and get through it. Another form, which is more difficult but better, is where the week, the time, and as a consequence of life, is lived as a tool, as a means for us. And so I set a goal. I set a goal where I say, this week, what do I want to do? What do I want to better? What do I want to connect with? And this gradually allows us to direct our energy, our speech, our actions, our conduct towards just one step further along from what we are today. And I personally think this is very important. So one thing is a person who doesn't need to train because they've already realized. If we take a being who's totally realized, a Buddha, for example, a Bodhisattva who's realized emptiness, that's another subject. It just needs to flow, because to be what he already is. But most of us, we find ourselves naturally, we have behaviors that are not very good, and we have behaviors that would be good to develop. So my advice is, I'm not here to point my finger to say, okay, this isn't going well. I mean, we're very good at doing that. We have this tendency to say, oh, this is not good. I shouldn't be jealous. I shouldn't complain. I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do that. And that's okay. But more than doing like this, I suggest that we should connect ourselves with a virtue that we want to develop more. So even when we recognize what we shouldn't do, it's important to possibly always connect with the antidote that we want to develop. Oh, so I don't want to get angry this week. This means I need to concentrate myself on more satisfaction, more acceptation, more respect, more gratitude. Where should I put the energy? Oh, I don't want to complain. Okay, so I should try to thank more often. Even when we see the negative, we should try to put the energy towards the positive. Because if I'm in a very dark room and I don't want that darkness, no matter how much I complain about how dark it is, that darkness is not going to go away. The only way to eradicate the darkness is to bring the light. So I should direct my energy towards the light, towards the antidote, because by complaining about what is not going well does not resolve the problem. No matter how much I cry or scream or jump up and down or have like a meltdown, a fit, it's not going to take the problem away. Instead, if we put energy into the antidote, towards the light, and often it's not something immediate. Often it's not something immediate. It takes time. So it's important that when we have a long-term goal, a very long-term, like enlightenment, we need to divide that goal into middle and short-term and very short-term goals. Even getting to our week. So if we set some goals for a week, and during this week, day after day, we redirect to that same objective, that becomes something that really works well. So let's try to see what kind of objectives we could set for a week. Obviously, this depends, this is from person to person. We can't generalize for everyone, but for example, one of the first steps that we can take is to have more awareness from the moment we wake up. The early morning and during the day, the more awareness of the preciousness of this life. We have gratitude for this opportunity that we have. If we look at the end of the Guru Puja, there's the verse that says, speaking Tibet. For the power of the merits that I have gained. May I never be separated from the four wheels of the Mahayana. It's a very clear metaphor. It's this. So this path towards enlightenment is established like a road, and to go along this path, we need a vehicle, and this vehicle, at the time of Buddha, the best of the cars, let's say, were the horse-drawn carriages. So today, we imagine a car. We wouldn't think of horse-drawn horse-drawn carriages wouldn't be the best vehicle to go from one place to another, but it still has four wheels. These four wheels of the Mahayana, if we summarize, they are to have the necessary conditions, to not be a slave to our own existence and survival. Because how many people are slave to their own survival? Even if they wanted, they wouldn't be able to create physical or temporal space, to practice, because they need to dedicate their entire lives for their survival. And that's not a few. These are people who, these people, that if they had the opportunity, they would have the same potential that we have for practicing Dharma. The main difference between us and so many other people are the marvelous conditions that we have. It's not that we're so much better than anybody else, but we have just amazingly wonderful conditions. So this first condition is to not have to live for one's own just survival. This is already a lot. It doesn't mean that one this means that one is able to find the time and the space, that you don't need to live, you don't need to work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year round, without even the certainty of knowing that you have food on the table the next day. I mean, this first condition we have. And then the second condition is to have who guides us correctly along the path. Have someone who opens our eyes, who shows us what the spiritual path is, what we can do, how to do it, how to follow it. And this is even harder to obtain, and we have it. And the third condition is to have created the merits in the past and the conditions in the present, to have the joy to practice, to have the desire to walk along this path, to follow this path. And this we have. Every once in a while we need a little bit of extra reinforcement, some energy, but we have this. So these conditions that we have are unique. Just think about, among all the people we know, the people we see around us, I mean, we find people that are wonderful, beautiful people, and people who know nothing about Dharma. I mean, these are wonderful people. I have no doubt. It's not because someone has gotten close to Buddhism that they are better than someone else, and absolutely not. But how many people have had an opportunity to understand and see all permeating suffering as suffering? For example, to understand a little bit better how this mechanism of our own suffering works, and understand that, selfishly speaking, it's better to be altruistic, to be able to see interdependence. I mean, these are things. I mean, these are unique opportunities that we have. So, one of the first things that we need to familiarize ourselves with this mind that says, when you wake up in the morning, how wonderful that I have this opportunity. I have a relatively healthy body, because a perfectly healthy body no one has, but it's working well. I have material things is enough. I don't need to worry about eating. I have a guru. I have more than a guru to guide me. I have a path to follow. I have examples to follow, and I want to do it. So that's wonderful. So I rejoice. I thank these opportunities that I have. So one of the first steps is waking up in the morning, is when one realizes the opportunities that one has, one should feel deep joy. This is very important. So, for example, one objective for the week would be to create more familiarity to remember more often this preciousness of the opportunities that we have. Remember it often in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and dedicate a week to the preciousness of this life, where every day we set this objective. The following week, we dedicate to impermanence. Remembering that instead, yes, it's wonderful that I have this life, but sooner or later it's going to end, so there's no time to lose. And then the following week, then we dedicate it to the reflection on the law of karma, and the next one on the refuge, or even before that on the Four Noble Truths, and the sufferings, the all-permeating suffering. Just take, for example, the Lama Review at the end of the Guru Puja, and take get a verse for every week. So even just talking about, having a guide to follow us. So, or this week, for example, I want to dedicate it to patience, or to generosity, to kindness, and to thanking, to allow myself to see the others, to listen with peace, to listen, to speak and touch with peace. I want to dedicate this week to have more awareness with food. I want to dedicate this week to respect my body more. I'm just giving examples, but what's important is that we should just choose one. Not various things, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, no, I'm changing ideas because that one was too hard. No, we need to have one thing that we choose. One of the most important things, it would be to dedicate the week to awareness, having mindfulness. What am I saying? What am I doing? Like once, a man went to Buddha and he said, "What is it that you and your disciples do?" And Buddha answered, "We walk, we sit down, and we eat." And this man said, "I'm sorry, but we all walk, sit down, and we eat. And what's the difference?" And Buddha said, "Yes, but the difference is that when we walk, we are walking. When we sit down, we are seated. And when we eat, we are eating." And this is already so much. So, for example, dedicate the week to having more awareness, which means I'm doing something. I'm doing it well with fewer distractions. I'm listening to a sound. I'm there listening to that sound. And I allow myself just to sit there, to stay there, listening to the sound. I'm eating. That's what I'm doing. I'm eating. I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you. I'm not talking to you. I'm listening to you. And then there'll be my time to talk. Then I will talk. If I'm walking, I'm walking. So generate this awareness of that present moment. This helps us so much to have more inner space. And this is something just absolutely necessary for all of us. This is an example of some examples of objectives that we can set for the week. Like this week, for example, have more awareness. I invite you to write down the objective of the week. Maybe write a little sentence. This week, I will have awareness of my speech, my actions, the place I find myself, and what I'm doing. We can dedicate, for example, a week to We can dedicate a week to awareness of our speech, and then the next of our body, and then a week to the awareness of our thoughts, of our mind. That comes after. First, we need to have awareness of our speech. And I'm not even saying have control, you know, you know. I'm not saying having control of our speech. I'm just saying having awareness. Maybe I'm saying the stupidest thing ever, but I'm aware that that's what I'm doing. And then the next step would be to direct our speech and not say stupid things, but at least start with this awareness of our speech. Because if we don't do this, if we don't set clear objectives along the path, what happens is that we listen to teachings and we read books. We have an idealized image of what we should do. I should be like this. My speech should be like this. But it seems all very far and impossible and unreachable. Or if we listen to, maybe at the moment we listen to the teachings, it seems possible, but then we go back to our daily problems, and it seems, and then we distance ourselves from all that. So our life is in one part, and our life is somewhere else. And instead, our path can be found in our daily lives. And we can, so one step after another. We can start with awareness. One piece of advice would be to take the Lamrim, the graduated path to enlightenment, as we have in the commentary on the Guru Puja. We saw it all. We've looked at this often. But from the Guru Puja, if you take from verse 84 to the end, and you take a week for each verse. But I invite you. I recommend that you start with awareness. If awareness is in general is too much, then start with the awareness of your body, and then after that the awareness of your speech, then to get to the awareness of your mind. I'm not sure a week is enough for that, but begin there, and then you go back to another week for the body, and then the speech, and the mind. So do this. And as you go along, you can add things. When it becomes absolutely natural to observe your body, where I am, how I move, how I eat, feel physical presence. I'm listening to something, I'm listening to it. I'm speaking. As Buddha said, as we walk, we're walking. As we're sitting, we're seated. As we're eating, we're actually eating. This is the awareness of the body. This is the awareness of the present moment. Then get to the awareness of speech. How do I say it? What am I saying? What intention do I have? What's my intention in saying what I'm saying? And this goes together, possibly with the awareness of listening. How am I listening to the other? This communication, the awareness of speech should also include the awareness of texting and messages, because speech is not just verbal, but it's also written. So, doing like this, we have 52 possibilities a year. And that's a lot. I mean, it's also not a lot, but if we take 52 weeks and we see that we can dedicate every week to a quality that we want to develop, and then we go back to it. My advice is to every week to apply a quality, and then at a certain point you go back to it, and maybe after a certain number of weeks you go back to the first, putting emphasis there. If one says, I want to put energy into one thing, and I won't change until I realize it. Maybe, unfortunately, in our modern times, we get bored so easily. So it's better to change every week. So one quality per week, and then you go to the next, and then eventually you come back to that first. This makes an enormous difference, because by doing like this, you will really see that time, the day, the week, the month, the year, the life is a tool for growth, and not just an end in itself. And it makes a huge difference along our path. So let's do a brief prayer. We'll do Vajrasattva mantra. And as we do this, I'd like you to generate an objective for yourself for this week. Where do you want to put your energy? And then something wonderful that someone can do, one can take some time to reflect and maybe write down in a diary some objectives. I want to concentrate on this, that, and the other. This week it'll be this. Simply having a moment of reflection and clarity, taking a diary, a journal where one writes down and thinks about what one wants to train in. If one doesn't know really what to do, then I suggest starting with awareness.
Vajra Sattva Samaya Manu Palaya Vajra Sattva Tenopa Trishta Didro Me Bawa Soto kayo me bawa, sopo kayo me bawa, anurakto me bawa, sarva siddhi me prayatsam, sarva karma Sutsame Atsiyatam Shriyama Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajra Mame Vajra Bhava Maha Samaya Sattva Ahum Pe Eho Shuddhe Shuddhe Swaha Yam Ho Shuddhe Shuddhe Swaha Ram Ho Shuddhe Shuddhe Swaha Lam Ho Shuddhe Shuddhe Swaha Bam Ho Shuddhe Shuddhe Swaha Eyam Ram Lam Bam Shuddhe Swaha Om Amoga Siddhi Hum Om Aratna Sambhava Hum Om Akshobhya Hum Om Amitabha Hum Om Avairochana Hum Om Samayatara Hum Om Lochana Hum Om ki hum. Om a pandara varsini hum. Om akash vajra hum. Om muni muni mahamuni Shakyamuni Svoha Om Ye Dharma Hetun Prabhava Hetun Teshan Tattagato Yawa Data Teshan Chayo Niroda Evam Vadimaha Shramanaye Svo Om Chenam Tamche Gyule Chung Te Gyu Deshin Shekpe Sung Gyula Gokpa Kaimba Gejon Chembu Deke Sung Gejon Chembu Jingilo Gejon Chembu Ngodrupt Gejon Chembu Trashishon. Jetsun alame kotse rapten chi namkar tinle chokchur ge padang losan tempe drume sasum ki drove munsel takto ne gyur chi kewa kunto yanda lamadang drame chuki pela longche ching sadan lamge yente rabzo ne Dorje change kopa nyur tobe shon. Nimo dele tsendele, nime kuyan delek shin. Ninsen takto delek pe, kuncho sumke jingelo. Kuncho sumke ngodrubut sol. Kuncho sumke trashishon. Spargere il sentiero della nostra vita con molti segni di buon auspicio. Buona giornata a tutti.